This video is about the transformation of our garden outside into a native California landscape. First, we'll talk about why we decided to make this change, as well as a few benefits that native plants provide. And then we'll go over the garden project plan, also show the process of redoing the garden. And then finally, I'll show you guys the space and give you a tour of the yard, as well as talk about some of my favorite features and the plants. So this is the area that we're working on. It's around 400 to 500 square feet, and I thought this would be a good place to start because it's smaller, it's enclosed, there's like a wall of bamboo that looks pretty cool. And also you can see this part of the yard from our kitchen. So when you're doing dishes and stuff, the windows look out into the yard space. So I thought this would be a good size to start with, and also we're gonna be seeing this pretty much every day. The soil in this yard is not very good. It's extremely hydrophobic, so anything that we planted in it just would not survive and grow because no matter how much we watered, this water would never really seep down into the soil. Also, there is a ton of ivy in this area, and I tried to clear it as much as I can, but it kept growing back. There are some really thick trunks. It's attached to the wall, and yeah, it just needed to be completely ripped out because it made growing anything here really difficult. Also, I noticed a lot of rodents in this area, and ivy tends to attract rodents. Even though it kind of looks good with all the ivy and stuff, the ivy really made it so difficult to plant anything else there. I know I wouldn't be able to accomplish this very easily by myself, so I went to a native California plant landscape design company called Hardy Californians. I purchased a lot of plants from them when we first moved in here, so I kind of had a little bit of a relationship with them, and I really like them, so I asked them to work with me. We'll go into more of that later, but right now let's talk about a few of the benefits of native plants. So instead of being inside, I thought it'd be kind of fun if I just walk around the yard and talk about these things a little bit. I was gonna do it all sitting down in the house, but I feel like that is a little bit boring, so you guys can take in the yard, look around, find things you haven't seen before. Why plant native plants? What are the benefits to them? So for selfish reasons first, they are a lot less maintenance, so you don't have to mow the lawn if you're replacing a lawn with native plants instead. Also, they are literally native to the environment, so they are adapted to the conditions, the amount of precipitation, the climate. You don't really have to fuss too much with them because they have evolved to adapt to the conditions of the area. That means less fertilizer, less irrigation, less general maintenance, and you don't have to fuss over them as much. But for reasons much bigger than myself, native plants are incredibly important for insects, pollinators, and birds. Insect populations have been in decline for many years, and a majority of native pollinators specialize on specific plant groups. For example, one that's widely known, the monarch butterfly won't lay its eggs on any other plant other than milkweed. So when you remove the milkweed, where do the monarch butterflies have a place to lay their eggs? They don't, right? So the population of the monarch butterfly declines, as well as the amount of caterpillars that are being hatched. And what eats the caterpillars of the monarch butterfly? Birds eat them. And there are so many native birds in California. We just went on a walk today and we saw an acorn woodpecker. I don't know if they feed on caterpillars, but a lot of birds, a lot of songbirds, they feed on insects such as caterpillars. So yeah, we really wanted to redo the garden, but also plant native and drought resistant plants because of all the ecological benefits that come along with it. I also just think the idea of planting native is really cool, like to feel like you're doing something that's beneficial to the ecosystem and beneficial to something that's bigger than yourself. I think that's a good feeling. In this video, I've partnered with Climate Power to bring some attention to the American Climate Corps. I don't know if many of you guys know my lore, but I graduated from UC Santa Cruz in 2021 with a degree in environmental studies. So I went into college applying as an environmental studies major. I didn't really think about my job prospects in the future. I just thought about what I was interested in, what I felt passionate about. However, during my time in school, I was always very stressed, and that's because I didn't know what my job prospects were like after college. I saw a lot of people that graduated with my major that didn't end up doing anything related to their major, and this is common amongst a lot of majors, but I really felt that way with environmental studies. Throughout college, I desperately tried to find what area of environmental studies I'd be interested in. I did field work, I did research, I caught like rats and rodents. It was a time. I was very stressed, very worried about the future. So this is why I wish I had something like this during my time in school. So I'm very happy to share this with you, because if this existed when I was in school, I would not feel as scared about the future. The American Climate Corps is a paid job training initiative that will put to work more than 20,000 young people ready to learn crucial skills to fighting climate change, such as installing solar panels, to restoring coastal wetlands, to retrofitting homes to be more energy efficient. In its first year, the American Climate Corps will train 20,000 young people for climate-focused jobs such as clean energy, land restoration, and forest management. The Climate Corps will be focused on ensuring that people who come through this program are able to have a pathway to good union-paying jobs. As of posting this video, there is one corps that is open for application, the Forest Corps. So if you're a young person, or you have a young person in your life that is interested in climate-focused related jobs, check out the description below to be notified when the other corps open for application. This might be difficult to see, but I'm right here. Here is this tree, and here I am for scale. So you can see this is a massive tree. This is a coast live oak. This is a keystone species here in California. So sorry, that crunch might be loud. So keystone species means that it is a vital, very important species in an ecosystem, and if it were removed, then the ecosystem would change drastically, and there'd be a lot of problems, essentially. In this tree, when it flowers, there are so many birds and butterflies that come here. Also, I do know that this tree is very important for the acorn woodpecker, which I mentioned earlier. Those things are so cute, and they're kind of loud, but they're very pretty. So you may be wondering, Benji, why are you paying for landscaping to be done when you live in a rental? Like, aren't you renting? Yes, I am renting, and the reason why we're doing this, there are a lot of reasons, but the first one is that we received a rebate. So we got a rebate with our local water agency where they gave us a certain amount of money per square feet that we're replacing. So before, it was technically a lawn, even though it wasn't much of a lawn, and then we're replacing it with drought-tolerant plants and native plants, so they are giving us money to complete the project. Also, the landlord is paying partially for it. I brought up this idea to her, and she thought it would be great because also, landscaping increases property value. And then also there is a sponsorship in this video. Through them, we were also able to fund this project, and I was able to do this sponsorship because of the subject matter of this video. I also wanted to support 2 local businesses that I think are pretty cool and promote them, and hopefully encourage other people to also plant native. If I wasn't receiving rebates and getting assistance through the sponsorship, then I probably would have attempted to do this myself. But honestly, like, my skill set is not in outdoor gardening, and I don't have the tools, I don't have the knowledge, and I wanted this to be a good transformation so I can show people and have it look pretty and encourage people, because a lot of the critiques on native gardens, native California gardens, is that it's very kind of ugly, I guess. So I wanted it to look good so it didn't perpetuate that stereotype. Let's go over the garden plan. I'm going to show you some footage of what the yard looked like before so you can get an idea of the space that we're working with. So we wanted the garden to have a very natural feel to it and not be rigid and planned out, well, at least not look planned out, but also have some structure to it and have it feel laid back, sort of a whimsical, grown-in feel. My favorite kind of gardens are those English cottage gardens, but I know realistically it's not practical for me in terms of upkeep, but also it doesn't fit very well with the climate that we're in, which is Los Angeles area, Southern California. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. I feel like garden YouTubers, they always mention what zone they're in. I think I'm in like zone 10B, 10A, one of those. I have my laptop with me right here so I can look at the garden plan with you guys. Like I said, I worked with a local company called Hardy Californians. They are great. They're a small team. They put a lot of effort and work into your project, and it feels very personal. I saw some of the work they did and I really loved it. They were working with a lot of native flowers like poppies and other things like that. I don't know a lot of native plant names yet. There are so many and so many different genera that like I can't keep track of all of them. First, the Hardy Californians team came over and looked at the garden, and then we talked about what Chris and I wanted in terms of plants, maintenance, everything like that. They looked at the shade, the sunlight, and then they went back to their office space that they have, and they created a plant palette. So I'm looking at the plant palette right now, and they sent this to me, and they sent a variety of different species that would work for what we need, different kinds like bush plants, climbing plants, things like that. And so from there, I was able to look through and choose which plants I thought would be good in the space and which plants that I liked. And one of my favorite parts about the plant palette is that they also included photos of the plants, like close up, far away, when they're more mature, to give you an idea of what the plant's going to look like. Also descriptions of the plants and the size, how much light they need, water requirements, soil. And I think this is just such an amazing resource, especially if you're new to plants or new to native plants. This gives you such a thorough understanding of what these plants are, and just like it's all here for you. After we picked out the plants and decided on which plants we would use, they created an illustration of kind of like a mock-up of what the space could look like once it's grown in. We didn't end up going with this design. This was a previous first draft. I don't think I needed this personally, but to other people out there who might have a hard time envisioning what a garden may look like, then this is probably pretty beneficial to you. But my favorite part of this is the, I believe that's a sedge grass. Yeah, I love like the hairy, flowy looking native grasses like that. And then here we have the conceptual plan for the garden. This was probably my favorite part of the process, to see the yard laid out like this from the top down view. So you can see like the plant key, and there's different icons for each plant. I feel like this gave me a better idea of what the garden would look like compared to the illustration. So we decided to add pavers, which was a big thing that we wanted because the yard felt like it had no flow. There is a lot of clustered field sedge. That was the hairy grassy plant that you guys saw earlier, because I love that flowy look. It just looks beautiful and like windswept. So that was pretty much the end of Hardy Californian's work. They figured out how many plants you would need, where to place them, and then after that we hired a contractor. Let's talk about the actual transformation of the yard. This is where I've made the biggest mistake in my entire social media career thus far. I accidentally ended up deleting all of the footage that I took on my camera of the process of them digging up the yard, planting the plants, doing the hardscape. I just wasn't paying attention and I accidentally deleted it. But luckily I have some footage from my phone, and I have some footage from previous videos that I've made, so I can stitch it together and hopefully create a picture for you guys so you know what happened and how the process went. So after working with Hardy Californians to create the plan, we needed to get contractors to do the work in the plan, and Parker had been wanting to work with this contracting company called Aquifer Gardens for a while. We got Aquifer Gardens to come out and do the work for us. They are a great company, a small group of guys, very passionate, they know their stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed working with them. Aquifer Gardens came out and they cleared the entirety of the garden, and they did this so fast. It only took them a day or two, and you can also see there that they added some irrigation. By the way, adding drip irrigation is amazing for a number of reasons. It conserves water, saves fertilizer, reduces runoff, and discourages the spread of disease. You don't have to go out and hand water yourself because you can set it up to do it automatically. We thought of adding a small water feature in a shaded area for birds. So here Mark is drilling a hole in this rock, which will become a natural looking water feature. Here's how the yard's coming along. They're making a lot of really good progress. They've already done so much. But these are the pavers that we're using, and then there's a lot of room between each stone where, you know, like moss can grow or little grasses can grow. Topped off with a nice boulder over there. Some good landscaping rocks. And then I love this fountain. It was super windy last night, so it got dirty. We're gonna put some rocks there, and it's gonna look really good. Look at this like copper tubing for the But yeah, look at this copper tubing for the piping, and then there's like an auto refill system that's connected at the bottom in the basin. This is kind of fun. Mark finished up the pathway, and the team over at Hardy Californian stopped by to bring the plants and also place them in their spots. All the plants were sourced by Hardy Californians, by the way. And then the next day, Mark came back and finished planting the plants and packed in the pavers some more. And then the next day, Mark came back to drop off a ton of mulch and put mulch all over the plants. Unfortunately, I do not have any footage of that. Yeah, I'm so sorry, you guys. This is like such a blunder on my part, but now let's give you a tour of the garden. Sorry about that, guys. We're doing the garden tour. We got an outfit change. This is a hat from Hardy Californians. P, Los Angeles, Ns.
It was the opposite way.
Oh, really? Oh. Also, Chris is recording for me. So here is the garden. We love it. It makes so much more sense now. It's more usable. It's functional. I do want to preface this by saying that this garden was just planted like 2 weeks ago. So obviously it needs more time to establish, grow in. So all of the plants that you see here, like the goal is for them to be about tripled in size, more or less. Okay, let's start right down here. Look at these ID tags that Hardy Californians put down. I love this copper. It's gonna patina, so that'll look nice. But yeah, this is a clustered field sedge. They cut them before they planted it, so it looks like it got a bad haircut, but this is to allow it to grow more vigorously and have a lot of nice new growth. So it doesn't look like much now, but this plant, when it grows taller, it kind of falls over, and then it creates this beautiful wavy looking natural windswept pattern. We have a lot of that spread out throughout the yard, acting as a filler. And then over here, we didn't actually have that many species of plants because sticking to a limited palette keeps things cohesive and keeps things from not looking too messy. But this is my favorite part of the garden. You can probably hear it. It sounds super peaceful, and it's recirculating. Since it's in shade, it doesn't evaporate very much, so we haven't had to top it off yet. And birds love coming over here. It's so sweet to see the birds from the kitchen. They'll like take turns doing a little bird bath dance in here. And then over here, this is a Douglas iris. We have a couple of these also planted throughout. I love the flowers on these things. They're these beautiful purple flowers. Also purple's Chris's favorite color, so it's nice to have that too. These don't get that much larger. They get larger, but they're not going to be super prominent in the garden. And then here's our pomegranate tree. We've gotten a few pomegranates from it. I need to pick some of them before they go bad. But yeah, let's take a minute to appreciate the landscaping of the rocks, the placement of the rocks, the sizes. It's really, really beautiful. You see them throughout, just like good rock pairings. Other than the fountain, this is probably my favorite spot. This is the prettiest rock in the entire garden. Originally we wanted to do like a wood bench coming off of here and then coming off of here, but I wanted to keep costs lower, and right now wood is pretty expensive, so in an effort to keep costs down, we decided to go without the bench, and then maybe we'll add it in the future. Love these pavers. Yeah, like I said, I saw them in Japan and I just fell in love with them, and I haven't seen a style like this in the US before, so it's cool to be able to bring it here. I'm hoping that like moss or plants can grow in between them, but since we have DG planted, oh actually no, I do see some little grasses sprouting out, never mind. But yeah, I'm hoping to have grasses and stuff and little plants come out from the cracks to make it look more natural. We also have a couple of native California ferns planted throughout the garden. This one is a giant chain fern. This thing can get huge. It can be like 4 to 8 feet tall. So right now it's large, but it's still a baby in comparison to how tall it could be. Normally when you think of native plants to California, a fern wouldn't necessarily come to mind, especially for me because I grew up in Central California and then I only ever really visited Southern California. But in Northern California, there are ferns everywhere. This is a Western sword fern. I think a lot of people grow these as houseplants, but they're actually California natives. So these ones are smaller. They'll grow larger than this, but they are smaller than the giant chain fern because we wanted some different shapes, different sizes. I really love ferns, and since this is such a shaded area, I felt like ferns would grow well here, and so far they are doing really well. We have some climbing clematis. I might need to figure out a different way to stake it up because I don't think the bamboo will be enough, but yeah, hopefully eventually in a year this will climb and grow and cover up this wall. They were asking like, oh, do you want to redo the wall because it's pretty damaged? But like I said, to keep costs down, we decided not to do that. The pathway also goes this way, which is really nice because then now I have access to the potting bench that's over here. The potting bench is like decaying and falling apart. It came with the house. I still use it as a place to store a lot of my pots and my soil. So it looks really messy, but everything actually has a place over there. They put pavers down over here. Before, this area was such a difficult place to navigate. Like none of the ground was leveled. And this area was just cleaned this morning, and as you can see, it's already getting pretty messy. We have 3 trees that are over this garden, which is why it's so shaded, but that's also why there's so much leaf litter. So the tree that is right there, that's above me there, it attracts parrots like crazy, and they'll come in and eat these seed pods and then drop all of the leaves that are dying from the tree, and then they leave and they make just such a huge mess. I have some footage of it that I'll put for you guys. We have another tree that's above the garden and it has these seed pods in it. Like, I don't know what this is exactly, but it's really hard and it's heavy, and the parrots are up there, or they go up there and then they bite them off and then they fall down, and one of these hit my head. Actually, this is the one that hit my head, and I saved it to show you guys because I knew we were going to clean up the garden. Luckily, I have a hard head, so it didn't really hurt. These are heuchera. I think we have 2 different species here. One is a hybrid, but these are going to get really bushy, and they produce very pretty flowers as well. Now I feel like I'm using this seed pod to point at things. Everything you see here is not really in its final form at all. Gardens, they evolve and grow and they change over time, and since this is just the beginning of the garden, I think it's going to look so much better within a couple months, and then in 1 year it's going to look amazing. A huge thank you to Hardy Californians and Aquifer Gardens for making this possible. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.